Good evening, this is Brastax. I'm Zaka Jacob. There were dramatic scenes today in Himachal Pradesh. The Congress's candidate, Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, lost the election after the dramatic switchover and cross-voting by 6 Congress MLAs and 3 independents. Later on in the evening, these 9 were whisked away to a resort, allegedly in Panchkula in Haryana. The results at the end of this dramatic election were tied at 34 votes each. And then the returning officer went by the rule book and asked for a pick of lots, in which Dr. Singhvi's main rival, Harsh Mahajan of the BJP, his name propped up in the lots, and he was declared the winner for the lone Rajya Sabha seat that was up for grabs in Himachal Pradesh. Now, the Congress and the opposition are making the familiar attack against the BJP, saying this is the BJP engineering defections to get its candidate to win by hook or crook. Or simply, should the question be asked tonight of the opposition, whether it is a panchayat election, a municipal corporation election, or a Rajya Sabha election, as was seen today, the BJP and its ruthless election winning machine, the Congress and the rest of the opposition simply don't seem to have any answers for. But first, the story of what a dramatic day it turned out to be. Remember, there were Rajya Sabha elections in Uttar Pradesh, in Karnataka. Himachal was supposed to be the safest bet for the Congress and the opposition, but that is where all the drama unfolded.
बहुत शानदार मुकाबले के बाद जहां जीत की संभावना नहीं थी, वहां बहुत बेहतर ढंग से जीत की तरफ हम आगे बढ़ करके अपने लक्ष्य को हासिल करें।
खुश है जीत से, इट्स अ ग्रेट विक्ट्री और बीजेपी की विक्ट्री है, भारतीय जनता पार्टी।
विधायकों को लेकर सीआरपीएफ की और हरियाणा पुलिस की कॉन्वे जो लेके गई है, विपक्ष जिस प्रकार की गुंडागर्दी हिमाचल प्रदेश में करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, हिमाचल की जनता उसको कभी सरकार।
ये बदलाव बहुत दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है भारत के लिए और विशेष रूप से हिमाचल प्रदेश के लिए।
All right, let's bring you up to speed with an overview of what a nail-biter this was in Himachal. Remember, it ended in a tie-break at 34-34 each. The BJP camp, at the start of the election, as of this morning, they only had 25 MLAs of their own. What happened subsequently was they managed to get 6 MLAs of the Congress party to cross-vote, as well as 3 independents who were supporting the Sukhu government. The Congress, on the other hand, when it began this morning, they were sitting pretty at 40 MLAs. Remember, the halfway mark is 34. They were sitting at 40 MLAs, a comfortable margin of 6 above the halfway mark. The 6 Congress MLAs rebelled, along with 3 independents who, of course, are supporting this government from the outside, all of them switching en masse to the BJP camp and voting for the BJP candidate. So it became a tie at 34-34. Now, this is where the rule book kicked in. There is a tiebreaker rule as per Section 102 of the Representation of People's Act. The winner is decided after both candidates are asked to draw lots. The presiding officer oversees the drawing of lots. The winner of the drawing of lots receives 1 additional vote. So in this case, Mr. Harsh Mahajan of the BJP got 35 and Dr. Singhvi of the Congress got 34. That's how, for the lone seat, Rajya Sabha seat from Himachal Pradesh, which was up for grabs, it's Harsh Mahajan of the BJP who has won, and not Abhishek Manu Singhvi, in what was thought to be the safest bet for the Congress. There were concerns about cross-voting in Karnataka. There were concerns about, whether the Samajwadi Party will be able to hold its flock in Uttar Pradesh. There was a lot of drama around all of these bigger states. But no one thought that the tiny state of Himachal Pradesh would be where the tables would turn in such a dramatic fashion. Now, the Congress and the opposition are calling this BJP engineering defections, but questions will also be asked of the Congress as to why 6 of their MLAs, not 1 or 2, 6 of their MLAs cross-voted and 3 independents who until this morning were backing the Congress government, the Sukhu government in Shimla. Why did they cross-vote? Dr. Ajay Alok is spokesperson of the BJP. Mohan Kumaramangalam is spokesperson of the Congress Party. Smita Prakash is editor of ANI. Rajiv Rai is national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Mohan Kumaramangalam, let me ask you first. Like I said, I've outlined the numbers. It's not 1 or 2. It is 6 MLAs of the Congress, 3 independents who were supporting this government. From 40 plus 3, 43, you came down to 34, a loss of 9 seats from morning to evening. How?
I think that's something that you should ask the MLAs who were whisked away by the CRPF and the Haryana police in a bus at the end of voting. And I think you should ask them how are they coerced to do it? How much was paid to them, or what were they threatened with? Who knows? I mean, listen, we're in a position today where every Rajya Sabha election now is open to becoming a mockery of democracy. There is one party in this country that holds more funds than all the other parties combined, and they're using it to their advantage. It's now a question of money power, even in Rajya Sabha elections. This has been the case in Lok Sabha as well. For quite a while in many states, it's been happening. But now even Rajya Sabha elections, they resort to horse trading, they resort to buying, coercing, threatening, whatever it takes.
Mohan, so you are saying that these are your MLAs who until this morning were supporting your government. You are saying they're so susceptible, they're so susceptible to whatever it is, threat or coercion or inducement, that in the space of a few hours they've decided to lock, stock and barrel, abandon you and vote for the BJP candidate.
I love how you phrase it, Zaka, as if it's so trivial. They're so susceptible to the threat of being put in jail with no condition of bail for as long as possible, like Manish Sisodia is in jail right now without his case even reaching any level of maturity that they could take it to trial. These aren't trivial matters. I can't comment on exactly what or how those MLAs were coerced, but I think the topic of discussion here really shouldn't be about why Congress couldn't convince those 6 MLAs, but rather, what do you think the BJP has done that the MLAs actually had to be taken away by the CRPF?
Ajay Alok, you heard the Chief Minister, you heard just now the Congress spokesperson. They're all making the same allegation. CRPF and state police from Haryana came, whisked away 6 Congress MLAs and 3 independents. Up until now, even after 6 hours after the election has concluded, no one knows where these MLAs are. The Congress is making the allegation that by threat of force, coercion, inducement, you've taken away these people and forced them to cross-vote.
Then what's the use of Congress being in power in Himachal Pradesh if the government itself can be coerced by threat of power and position and by the threat of CRPF and whatever? This is the problem with the Congress. They don't realize that there is an intrinsic weakness in their leadership. Intrinsic weakness, I repeat. Because when the Chief Minister Sukhu wanted Mrs. Sonia Gandhi to contest from Himachal, because he was very clear that MLAs won't be together and there will be defections. So he wanted Sonia Gandhi to contest from Himachal so that the Congress can remain united. But the leadership failed to take challenge. She instead chose Rajasthan. When the leader does not accept challenge, when the leader does not take the thorns by its hands, then this thing always happens. They are scared of taking challenges. They do not talk of their intrinsic weakness, and their house is being ruined and they are blaming us. Your MLA, you are in power, sir, there. You are in power. This must be entered in the Guinness Book of World Record. That party in power is losing its MLAs. This has never happened ever in India. It's happening with you. Why? Because you don't have an apt leadership either at the state level or at the center. Center, the whole country knows that what kind of a leadership you have. But with the Sukhu being as a chief minister, those days are gone in the 80 eras when any family picked chief minister used to rule the state. No.
No, but Dr. Alok, please respond to what the Congress is saying. One second. From Goa to Madhya Pradesh to Meghalaya, they are citing instance after instance where BJP, the opposition, is claiming usurped the people's mandate from the opposition, from the Congress, and by hook or crook, you have gone on to form government. So if you can do that for state governments, what is one Rajya Sabha seat?
It's not a matter of one Rajya Sabha seat or we have taken some state government. Again, it was the intrinsic weakness of the leadership. Why it doesn't happen with BJP? Today, one of our MLA cross-voted, which was supposedly cross-voted. We are checking the facts in Karnataka. we are going to take strict actions against them. Now, what will they do? If their 9 MLAs are absconding and they are not able to locate their 9 MLAs, are they going to suspend those 9 MLAs? Then their government is going to fall on itself.
Yeah.
This is the problem with the Congress. The intrinsic weakness of the leadership is we cannot be blamed for that. The Congress debacle for the last 10 years, we are not supposed to be blamed for that. We are happy for that. We want them to go further down. We are opposition. Inki vipatti hamari sampatti hai. Why do they expect favor from us? Their house is burning and they are expecting Prime Minister and the BJP to get a fire brigade.
Listen, we don't expect any
politics they are into. Congress is becoming NGO, I know.
Okay.
But this kind of NGO I never imagined.
Hello.
Okay, Mohan,
Please
quick
try and
response
locate
and then
your
I need to go to the other two
weakness.
guests
Why did
also.
Sonia
Yeah.
Gandhi refuse to contest from
Okay.
Himachal?
Zaka,
Mohan,
hold
yeah.
on. Let him.
Mohan,
So basically what he's saying is it's the wild, wild west. The democracy doesn't matter. Our constitution doesn't matter. Rule of law doesn't matter. If they're able to buy, coerce, threaten any MLA of the Congress party, because they're in power in the center, they have ED, CBI, IT at their beck and call, they will do it. Because it's a sign of weakness that we are actually following constitutional norms. We're not trying to buy their MLAs, even though we're in power in Himachal. We're putting up the number of candidates that they're supposed to be. We are not going and trying to ask them to cross vote from the other side. This is all a sign of weakness. You follow the constitution, you respect democracy. That to the BJP spokesperson, to the BJP party as a whole, the sign of weakness.
let me go to wait one second. Let me go to Smita Prakash and then after that to Rajiv.
Jaka,
Smita
just
Prakash,
one line, just one line.
Yeah. Okay,
Just
one
one
line. 10
line.
seconds. The other two
Jaka,
guests are
one
waiting
line.
patiently. Yes.
Just-
10 seconds, please.
I would like your viewers to know that who is Harsh Mahajan. Harsh Mahajan was the closest aide of Veerbhadra Singh, the Chief Minister of Congress. All those MLAs who have deserted them, who are they? They were all closest aide of Veerbhadra Singh. You never managed to put your house in order. Now you are blaming us and you are just talking of democracy and all this blah blah. Congress and democracy.
Oh yes,
Don't
democracy.
forget
Okay.
Blah, blah, yes.
All right.
For you,
I'm
it
going to
is
pull
blah,
away
blah.
from the
Weakness.
political
Very well,
spokespersons.
very
Let
well
me go to
leadership.
Smita,
Very
please.
well
Yeah,
put.
let me go to
Democracy
Smita
to you
Prakash.
is
Smita
blah,
Prakash,
blah.
the problem is, it's not just about this one Rajya Sabha seat. Now, if these 6 plus 3, 9 MLAs do not come back and pledge their allegiance or support to the Congress government of Mr. Sukhwinder Sukhu, the problem is this is the budget session. The budget of finance bill has to be brought forth. I was told the initial plan was to bring it tomorrow. But given this state of numbers, there is no way the finance bill will pass, which means if the finance bill fails, the government falls.
Correct. It's not just the anxiety of losing an election where Abhishek Manu Singhvi has lost his Rajya Sabha nomination. It is the high anxiety which must be there that they're going to lose the only government in North India that they have, because they don't have a number. The numbers are now, the government is in jeopardy. So, it's something which is like very bad planning, and the signs were there for all to see. The very fact that Mr. Sukhu had been brought in as chief minister, that itself was a precarious career. If you remember when he was brought in as chief minister, that itself, there was Pratibha ji who was not happy. Her son was not happy. After that, you saw him in Ayodhya. You saw the signs that were coming up. The MLAs were disgruntled. There was this talk that let's bring Sonia Gandhi in to stand for election from here. Maybe, she'll be able to placate, give importance to the only government which they have in power. But nobody seems to see the sign, because you know why? The energy is all diverted towards the yatra. In their good sense prevailed over their leadership, where they thought a yatra at this time, barely a few weeks before election or a few months before election, is a sensible thing. I'm sure there will be some stock taking that Mr. Gandhi is doing sitting in Cambridge right now, wondering what has happened, right? So it's and this talk, you're running Mr. Singhvi's press conference. Here he turned around and in being very naive in politics here, and he's been there for a long time, he turns around and he said, yesterday they had dinner with me, today they had breakfast with me, why have they done this? And that's not it. Just because somebody is breaking bread with you doesn't mean that they are dissatisfied with the condition that the party is in. They were not happy, and the sign should have been there with Mr. Sukhu sitting there silently while Mr. Singhvi is taking the fall for what has happened. So, I just don't see where, and to say that, the good old days of yesteryears were wonderful, and where, if a youngster says that, it is different. Mr. Kumaramanglam has seen it, you have seen it, I have seen it, we've seen cash for votes happening in Parliament. We've seen, who is Farooq Abdullah? Government dismissed. NTR, government dismissed. MGR, government dismissed. By which party? So, let's not talk about, the good old days. No, this malaise has been there for years and years.
Really,
should
Smita,
have been changed, must
was
be
there cross-voting in
changed
Rajya
now.
Sabha?
Okay, one second,
No,
please,
no,
Mohan,
no,
this is not the way,
this
please,
is
Mohan.
two versus
No,
one.
I
They're
need to
both
go
on
to
the
a fourth
other
guest
side.
who's been waiting patiently for the last 13
Then
minutes
give me
since
time,
the show
let's go to
began.
both of them.
No, one second, let me go to Rajiv Rai, please. Rajiv Rai ji, it's not just the Congress party. Look at your own party, the Samajwadi Party in Uttar Pradesh, as many as 8 MLAs cross-voted. The leader of the pack is the chief whip of your party, Mr. Pandey, Mr. Manoj Pandey. The person whose job it is to ensure that no one, goes against the party line, he himself has cross-voted today. I mean, what is going on, Rajiv Rai ji?
Jaka, we are thinking that at least the leadership and of the BJP will take note of after this Chandigarh incidents when Supreme Court slapped on their face. But once again we have proven wrong and we have accepted that they're not going to change. See, it's not question of 8 MLAs or 6 MLAs or 7 MLAs that it to come correct picture. The thing is that the party, the leadership who boosted themselves to be the Ek Akela Modi with the 39 parties coalition again, be it the mayor's election or be it the Rajya Sabha election. They stoop down to any level to break the parties, allure the MLAs, and why always only those MLAs are targeted who has some kind of the charges against them. You see the list of today's the Samajwadi Party MLAs who have voted for the BJP, go through their history. They have some other charges. Right or wrong, that has to be proven by the court. But why always at the eve of any election, Antaratma ki awaaz, if you have the power, you can invoke Antaratma ki awaaz. And this is the kind of the practice if the BJP win the power. And now the Himachal Pradesh, I don't know if they have taken with the CRPF and Haryana police the MLAs out of the state. I accept that this Congress government chief minister is responsible. But see the audacity of the central government, if you have the power in your hand, you can go to any level, be it Haryana or be it Uttar Pradesh.
No, but Rajiv Rai ji,
okay.
I come back to that question. Manoj Pandey
you
has been a multi-term, I believe this is the second time that he has been an MLA with the Samajwadi Party. He's been associated with the Samajwadi Party since the late 80s. He's the chief whip, and I keep coming back to this point because the job of the whip is to ensure that every MLA votes according to the party line and does not deviate from the party line. The chief whip of the party is cross-voted. There is a serious problem. I'm not diminishing or discounting your charge that all of these people have some case or the other and BJP is squeezing them using these cases, IT, CBI, ED, etc. But why would the chief whip cross-vote? He has one job to make sure that everybody stays in line.
See, that answer only Mr. Pandey can give. What we know is that if the party, what he says today, if he was not happy with the party, he was not happy with the leader, third time he is an MLA from our and with the same party and same leader under the same leadership.
Third time,
he
correct,
contested the election and won. The people from his constituency has blessed him because he was the Samajwadi Party candidate. He should answer to you or he should answer to the people or his voters that why that same party and leader was right when they gave him the ticket, they made him the chief whip, they gave him all kind of respect. And today just because of you have some ulterior motive as you were personal greed or for personal benefit, we switch over and blame the party.
Okay. Let me go back to Ajay Alok, the point that Mr. Rai made about the Chandigarh mayor election. As recently as just a few days ago, Dr. Ajay Alok, we saw no less than the Supreme Court come down on the Chandigarh mayor election, the returning officer saying this is absolute greed for power, and it cancelled the result of the election and said that all the 8 votes which the returning officer had cancelled will go back in the name of the Aam Aadmi Party candidate, and that candidate went on to win the mayoral election. Wasn't that a lesson that you can't be unscrupulous about elections? You can't be unscrupulous that you can do hook or crook by any method possible to win an election?
See, it's very easy to point out allegations and just to point your fingers out on anyone. Now, we have seen many elections being countermanded since 1975, and we have seen election rigging, what Indira Gandhi did, and the Supreme Court then also objected and stayed her nomination. So everything keeps on happening in politics. You just cannot make it a yardstick for all times to come. Now here's the problem with the Samajwadi parties. I will again say, when the leadership becomes incommunicative, you don't talk to your workers, you don't talk to your MLAs, you are unavailable for your main party persons, then this kind of things happens. Now, what charges Pooja Pal is facing? Can Rajiv Rai elaborate on that? Now, Pooja Pal, her husband, was murdered by none other than Atiq Ahmed and his goons, who were MP at that point of time from Prayagraj, and his brother was an MLA, Ashraf, who both were recently killed. Now, Mukhtar Ansari brother is being given a ticket from from Ghazipur by Samajwadi Party. Isn't this enough a heartbreaking story for a woman who has lost her husband by the same kind of a party? They are giving us all kind of lessons. The problem with this, they can't keep their flock together. It's not our problem. I've been saying again and again.
Samajwadi Party
Akhilesh Yadav is absolutely, Akhilesh Yadav is absolutely out of touch. Shipal Yadav was not given anything. He is also discontent. He has already made his party earlier. Today also he was silent. Why? He was not managing things. Yesterday they had dinner. They found out yesterday only that their 8 MLAs were missing. What they were doing the whole day. I mean, if you don't have a problem, I'll give you imagine a picture. If tomorrow 200 BJP MPs desert the party, whose fault is this? Should we blame the Congress that Congress engineered it? No, the primary fault lies with us first. That's why we were not able to keep the flock together.
Okay.
It's the work of the leadership. And politics is, mind you, 24/7 business. It's not like that you take off or go for a holiday or go and give a lecture in the Cambridge. Either you're a serious politician, or you are in a business, or you're in a business. People are losing trust on you. This is the problem.
This is
you don't understand the pulse of the
24/7 job. You can't be on, yatra in the middle of an election campaign, then another day in Cambridge. Point is that the BJP, whether it is a panchayat election, municipal corporation election, Rajya Sabha election or general election, fights like its life depends on that election result. Whereas your party does not. Your leader is in Cambridge.
That's not the point at all.
Why is that not the point at all? I mean, you fight harder, you win. The chances of you winning are higher when you fight harder. Congress party is not fighting harder.
Are you done? Can I talk now?
Yeah, I'm asking you the question, please.
So let me reply, right? We fight just as hard as every other party. We just don't go and murder our opponents. We don't use every unethical route there is to actually get to power, and that maybe is the difference. Now, let me respond to this narrative that's being stitched by Alok and the editor of ANI, who's saying that basically Vikramaditya was upset. I was in Himachal for 2 months during that election in charge of an area, and I remember him saying very clearly he was not even the chief ministerial race. By the way, for the Veerbhadra Singh family, you know who their number one lawyer is, who's fighting all their cases, is Abhishek Manu Singhvi. So to say that they have basically stitched together these MLAs and they've been upset for a while and there's been unrest, all of it.
But Mohan, one second. Dr. Singhvi had a press conference right after this election loss. And he said the reason why we lost is because 9 of our guys cross-voted.
I'm not saying that
he's not blamed anyone. He's not said, threat of coercion, IT, CBI, ED.
Yes, Zaka, because you never asked him why they cross-voted. You asked me, and I'm telling you that in the past we've seen this happen. I believe that might be the case here as well. Okay. Otherwise, why are you whisking away the MLAs of the CRPF? Now, let me finish my point, Zaka. This dib about governments being dismissed in the past, trust me, the SR Bombay judgment wasn't there, the BJP would be doing it right now. But they're doing it any which way they can. The Chandigarh mayoral election proves that. And I'm in the same boat with my SP spokesperson when I say I wish the BJP takes some lessons from that Supreme Court judgment. But they continue to think that this is the way they want to operate in this democracy. Because they control all the assets, because they have all the power, and because they misuse investigative agencies, they believe that they will do whatever is required to win an election, and that's fair.
No,
that's actually.
I'm getting a piece of breaking news. One second, let me go to that and I'll come back to the panelists. This is the update from Uttar Pradesh. Now we have official results and we can break this now here on Brass Tacks. The BJP has won 8 out of the 10 Rajya Sabha seats in Uttar Pradesh. Remember, they only had the numbers for 7, but they've managed to get the 8th candidate also to win, which is a gentleman by name Sanjay Seth, who incidentally used to be with the Samajwadi Party some years ago and then joined the BJP in 2019. 8 at least 8 Samajwadi Party MLAs have cross-voted, which enabled the 8th candidate of the BJP to win, this real estate tycoon turned politician, Mr. Sanjay Seth. Rajiv Raiji, again, this is at the cost of a third seat for the Samajwadi Party. So basically, where you could have gotten 3 of your candidates voted into the Rajya Sabha, now you only have 2 because 8 of your own people have voted for the BJP.
That's what the same thing I was pointing out, and this is not a news for us. We are doing from the day earlier only. I mean, when the party in the power, if you use the make the brutal use of that power and money, then anything can happen in this politics.
No, but Rajiv Raji, if you have evidence of it, like for example, sir, one second. In the Chandigarh mayor election, you referred to that earlier. There was video evidence of the returning officer scratching out those 8 votes. If you have any kind of evidence of threat or coercion or IT, CBI, ED, please go to court. And I'm saying this to Mohan Kumar Mangalam as well. I refuse to believe that Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who's been fighting all of these cases on behalf of the Chandigarh mayor of the Aam Aadmi Party or any other constitutional matter, right now, where you're saying verdicts have been stolen, why would he not do the same for his own election if he believes that he lost it by hook or crook?
That's what always...
Rajiv ji.
No, that option is always open. Right now, let us get the detail. But at the outset, don't you see that I was pointing out, and this Dr. Alok Kumar was, giving an example of Pooja Pal. Pooja Pal was made MLA by us, not by you. You never stood by with her. We stood by with her. Today, just to get a vote, if you want to take a high moral ground, that is something that you can boost off. But whole nation, everybody knows that what kind of politics you are playing. I mean, this only those MLAs who are tinted in your eyes. Today you accuse, but the tinting and allegation also has no meaning. Honorable Prime Minister accused Ajit Pawar, that's a naturally corrupt party, 17,000 crore rupees corruption. And after 3 days,
let me get the big takeaway. What this means, not that the Rajya Sabha election is going to have any bearing on the big general election coming up, but Smita Prakash, especially after the winter assembly elections, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, where the opposition did have a chance, and the manner in which it lost, let's say, MP and even Chhattisgarh, a state which the Congress was expected to retain, after that, generally, it seems like Mr. Modi and the BJP are set for a third term. Whether they get 370 or 350 or 300, we don't know. But it seems like the wind is clearly blowing in the BJP's direction. But what was then the need to get these 6 guys in Himachal to cross-vote and the 8 Samajwadi fellows in Uttar Pradesh to cross-vote? Anyway, it's all moving in the direction of the BJP and a third term for Mr. Modi. So why is the BJP so desperate is the question by the opposition.
No, the BJP, like any party, should never take the voter for granted, should never take an outcome of any election for granted. And I think the BJP has learnt that bitter lesson when they lost the election with Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee at the helm. When everybody thought that who can ever say no to an Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who can ever vote against an Atal Bihari Vajpayee, one of the most loved politicians of our times. So in spite of that, they lost the election. And then they did that, the famed Chintan Manthan, which the BJP does. And after that, they have never taken any election, whether a mayoral election, it is all about winnability. Now, does the Rajya Sabha really matter? Yes, it does. See, when a strong, why does the Rajya Sabha matter so much? Just for basic thing is that when a strong government is in place, a Rajya Sabha acquires more meaning. Why? Because the Rajya Sabha is supposed to be a council of states, and they are supposed to keep the union government in check so that the absolute power of a ruling party is kept in check. That is what the constitutional reason is. But actually what happens is that when there needs to be a significant law which is passed, the BJP or the ruling party in the Lok Sabha needs the numbers in the Rajya Sabha too. Hence the BJP is leaving no stone unturned to get the Rajya Sabha numbers. As far as that one point about Abhishek Manu Singhvi being the lawyer for Pratibhaji and her son, that is the irony of the matter, that despite him being the lawyer, he was not tipped off that things are in jeopardy there.
Okay. Dr. Ajay Alok, again, one of the other attacks by the opposition is that you just pick up people from the opposition, whitewash them, put them into the BJP's washing machine and they all become clean. I'll give you the latest example. It's from, the part of the world that you come from. Yesterday in Jharkhand, the former Chief Minister, Mr. Madhu Koda's wife, Geeta Koda, the lone MP of the Congress party, joins the BJP. So, all the allegations, the conviction in the coal scam, all of that is forgotten. That's what the opposition is saying, that BJP is a washing machine. BJP is the new Congress.
First of all, Geeta Koda was not only an MP, she was an acting president of the Congress party of the Jharkhand state. Secondly, Geeta Koda does not face any charge, her husband does. Her husband has not joined the BJP. Number two, for your viewers, today only, 2 MLAs of Congress and 1 MLA from RJD has joined BJP. Now, if people wants to come, they want to follow the principles of BJP, they want to toe the line of Prime Minister Modi. We don't have any problem till the time they toe our line, they follow the ideology. It's your problem. I'm telling you, nobody wants to be in a sinking ship. In Uttar Pradesh, Samajwadi Party has already sank. It's a Samaptawadi Party. It's not Samajwadi anymore. It was Parivarwadi always. Now it is a Samaptawadi Party. The same thing is going with the Congress. Congress, blessed with such a divine leadership, anything can happen. And now they are just acting Rudali. So let them be Rudali, because people of this country have decided that the Congress and the rest of this Parivarwadi Party are going to be Rudalis for the next 30-40 more years. That's what they deserve actually. And they fail to understand the pulse of the people. This is the fact, because all the think tanks of the different parties, opposition parties, they realize that the pulse of the people is not with us, and that's why they desert. Anyone with the sense won't remain with these parties, and in the coming Lok Sabha you will see 80 Lok Sabha फिर आएंगी, जय बीजेपी, तय बीजेपी, लय में बीजेपी, और पूरा देश है बीजेपी में. This is the fact.
Mohan,
and now they are coming slowly but steadily. They will understand this.
Mohan, the sad part is, it's not just, I think Smita or someone on the panel mentioned this, it's not just about one Rajya Sabha seat or one Dr. Singhvi losing his Rajya Sabha seat. This was about the state of the only government in North India that the Congress party has, and that too in a small state like Himachal Pradesh. You are not in power in any of the states in northern India. If you lose this state, if these 6 MLAs don't come back and vote for the finance bill, if the 3 independents who are supporting your government do not vote for the finance bill, Mr. Sukhu's government will fall.
Yes, Zaka, Mr. Sukhu's government will fall if that is the case, and we'll have a by-election, or we'll go back to the people, and it remains to be seen whether the people will actually vote for those individuals who actually put in this Rajya Sabha election. At the end of the day, they're the ones who are going to judge.
No, but that election will be 4 years from now. Himachal Pradesh was end of 2022, so you got another 4 years to go.
No, you're saying the government will fall, so we'll go back to polls, right?
No, if these 6 people decide that they are withdrawing support to the Congress and back an alternate BJP arrangement, then the government will, a new government will be sworn into office.
There won't be a whip to get them to vote in a no confidence motion when they violate the whip.
Have you not seen this in Karnataka, in Goa, in Madhya Pradesh?
Right, exactly. In Karnataka, they were resigned and they had to go back. There were by-elections, and the people then actually re-elected them. I am saying that in Himachal, when they have to stand for elections again, you'll have to see if they get re-elected or not by the same people. So
why do you believe the result will be any different from what we saw in Karnataka or in Madhya Pradesh or any of the other states or in Maharashtra? Why are the people of Himachal will vote differently?
So when I was in Karnataka, in fact, when that happened as well, and what the BJP very cleverly did was tell all the electorate for most of those candidates except one who lost that they are senior people, they're going to be made ministers in the government. That was an incentive given to the voters. In Himachal, from what I saw, so if someone does something like this, this sort of treason or traitors, if they are traitors, the public doesn't accept it that easily, and they're very small electorate. So we'll.
I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Listen, Mohan, like I said, I keep saying this in every show. I keep saying this in every show. I think it is in the interests of Indian democracy that we have a strong opposition. Unfortunately, the opposition can't even seem to keep the states it's won. That's the reality. Now, you may say it's because of IT, CBI, ED, etc. But I think,
don't have to-
not being
I
able
may
to
not
keep
say
your own
Zaka.
flock together is also something that you need to be concerned about. But we'll leave it at that. I'm completely out of time. Thank you very much to all our guests. I need to move on. We'll take a quick break here on the program. But when we come back, we're going to do a deep dive into the Israel-Hamas conflict that's going on in Gaza. There is now suddenly hope for a possible ceasefire, maybe a temporary one, a 6-week one, somewhere close to the beginning of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, which begins on the 10th of March. Joe Biden, the US president, yesterday speaking to reporters, saying that he is hopeful that there will be a temporary pause for at least 6 weeks, and this in exchange for the release of at least 40 Israeli hostages among the 100 plus who are still in captivity of Hamas. They were kidnapped, of course, on the 7th of October after the Hamas terrorist attacks. Now, whether or not this will come through, and then what may happen post that, the demilitarization, the complete demilitarization of Gaza is what Israel wants. This is the Netanyahu plan. They want to control everything west of Jordan, which includes the West Bank, Israel, and of course the Gaza Strip, and cut off the southern border with Egypt. Is all of this feasible? Is this possible? Is this acceptable to all parties involved? We'll get a deep dive and then we'll go across to the CNN correspondent at the White House as well. That's right on the other side of this screen.
צק"ח הנחל ויחידות ההנדסה השונות עסוקים בעת הזאת למצוא את רשת המנהרות שמחברת בין צפון הרצועה לבין דרום הרצועה והולכות מתחת למסדרון הקרקעי אותו צק"ח הנחל תופס. אנחנו יכולים לראות כאן תוואי אסטרטגי אמיתי של החמאס שמחבר בין צפון הרצועה לבין דרומה. הצק"ח ימשיך, יאתר, יחפש את המנהרות האלה, ישמיד אותם.
במהלך החודש האחרון יחידת סיירת נחל בשיתוף פעולה עם יחידת יהלום ביצעו פעולות התקפיות נרחבות במרחב של בית החולים הטורקי. במהלך התקיפות שביצענו מצאנו מנהרה אשר נחפרה מתחת לבית החולים בעומק של 18 מטר, כאשר ישנם שני פירי יציאה גם בחלקה הדרומי וגם בחלקה הצפוני של בית החולים.
The subterranean tunnel constructed by Muhammad Sinwar. This is the Sinwar project tunnel that was meant to do a terror attack Without demolishing the tunnel project of Hamas, we cannot demolish Hamas. Hamas has spent millions of dollars in this project specifically. We will keep on doing our main mission.
Guys, let's move to the side.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has unveiled a plan for Gaza and its future post-Hamas. As per the plan, there will be complete demilitarization of the Gaza Strip. It also envisions closing off the southern border with Egypt, as well as the complete overhaul of Gaza's civil administration. CNN has obtained a copy of the plan which Netanyahu presented to members of Israel's security cabinet last week. This is Netanyahu's way of telling both the Palestinian people and also his Western allies and backers that he indeed does have a post-war Gaza plan. But will it find many takers? Let's find out. The Netanyahu plan comes even as Israel has sent a negotiating team led by Mossad director David Barnea to Paris last week. The team was there for talks over a potential ceasefire and hostage release deal that may put an end to the 4-month-long war. But so far, there has been no breakthrough. More than 29,000 people have been killed in Gaza since this war began. The 7th of October attack by Hamas has killed over 1,200 Israelis. A number of principles have been outlined in this document, from changes on the security and civil levels, as well as a more long-term plan on who governs Gaza. The most controversial aspect of this plan includes Israel closing off Gaza's southern border with Egypt. This would give Israel complete control of all entry and exit points from the Strip. At present, Egypt controls access to and from Gaza's southern border via Rafah. It is highly unlikely that Egypt is going to give up that control. Netanyahu's plan says that Israel will cooperate as much as is possible with Egypt in coordination with the United States. It is not clear whether Israel has obtained Egypt's sign-off on this plan. There's been no immediate official reaction from the United States as well to this proposal. Netanyahu has said before that Israel will have security control over the entire area west of the Jordan River, and this includes the West Bank, Israel, as well as Gaza. The Palestinians have long sought an independent state that comprises the occupied West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza. Israel will be responsible for realizing and overseeing the entire demilitarization of the Gaza Strip. Israel will also control all military affairs of the Strip except those that are required to maintain law and order. On the civil level, Netanyahu details an overhaul of Gaza's civil administration and education systems. Another point of contention has been the apparent cut-off of funding from Qatar to Gaza. There's been no official reaction from Qatar or any of the Gulf countries for that matter. The local entities running the civil services in Gaza will not be identified with countries or entities that support terrorism and will not receive any payment from them. While it is likely a reference to Qatar, it is not clear yet if it would also apply to the Palestinian Authority. The US President Joe Biden has previously said that he envisions a revitalized version of the Palestinian Authority that should run Gaza in the future. That's according to the Americans. But the Netanyahu plan also calls for de-radicalization in the education system, which Israel and its allies have long accused of promoting anti-Semitism and hatred of Israel. The plan also repeats that Israel will work to shut down UNRWA, which is the United Nations' main agency supporting Palestinian refugees. The document says it's going to replace it with responsible international aid agencies. Israel has accused about a dozen UNRWA employees of being directly involved in the October 7th attack. The agency employs about 13,000 people in Gaza. Finally, the plan also reiterates Israel's insistence that it will not be forced by the international community to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. Again, this is something that US President Joe Biden has publicly said as the only viable long-term solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict. This is what the document says. Israel outright rejects any international diktats regarding a permanent settlement with the Palestinians. It asserts that the recognition of a Palestinian state would be a huge reward to unprecedented terrorism. Many of the proposals are opposed by key parties. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, for example, has already rejected the idea of a buffer zone. Egypt has rejected the suggestion that Israel could control its southern border with Gaza. And the United Arab Emirates has said that without a clear roadmap towards an independent Palestinian state, it will not help foot the bill meant for Gaza's reconstruction. Also, Netanyahu's vow to eliminate UNRWA, the UN aid agency which supplies most of the international aid to Gaza, would be extremely difficult to achieve. Now, as the United Nations warns of almost all the population of Gaza at imminent risk of a famine, a ban on UNRWA would be immensely unpopular. It would also be counterproductive. There is no mention in the plan of the Palestinian Authority, which administers parts of the occupied West Bank. Netanyahu has previously rejected the idea that the PA could take control of Gaza. It is not clear whether he would accept a reconstituted version of the Palestinian Authority taking over Gaza. It is also far from clear whether this would be accepted by the Palestinians themselves, because remember, a good number of them voted for Hamas in the elections in 2006. For now, Netanyahu's priority remains destroying Hamas and returning more than 100 hostages who are still in Hamas captivity in Gaza. Getting hostage talks that are mediated by Egypt and Qatar back on track, that seems to be a key goal of the delegation that Netanyahu sent to Paris last week. The United States and others are hoping that a deal will forestall a ground operation in Rafah that could push the death toll to well above 30,000. Most observers believe that once this war is over, elections in Israel are inevitable. Netanyahu and his allies are predicted to lose. They've been trailing badly in all nationwide opinion polls, but it is far from clear that if a different leader, in this case the leading opposition leader Benny Gantz, who's also part of the war cabinet and he's touted as the favorite to become the next prime minister, whether Mr. Gantz and his government will have a different vision for Gaza. All in all, life in Gaza is not going to be anywhere close to normal, even if the war were to end in the next few weeks. All right, so President Biden hopeful of a ceasefire, temporary one at that, by Ramadan, which begins on the 10th of March. Let me go across to CNN's White House correspondent Alit Sains, who's now joining us. So the president, while on a pit stop in New York, answering reporters' questions, saying that he's hopeful that by early March there will be a ceasefire. What gives him hope? What is the status of talks right now between Israel, mediated, of course, by the United States, Qatar, and Egypt?
Well, the White House has yet to explain why specifically the President Biden mentioned Monday as his hope for when an agreement could be reached on a temporary ceasefire that would allow for the release of hostages. But officials do feel that progress has been made in the negotiations. Over the weekend, negotiators met in Paris, and then there were talks yesterday in Qatar. And CNN has previously reported that in these negotiations, Hamas has backed off of some of their demands, like pulling out all Israeli troops from Gaza in order to release hostages. The belief right now from officials familiar with the talks is that the initial round of hostages could come to about 40 hostages that could be released if a temporary ceasefire and a deal is met. That would include some Israeli female soldiers as well. But this morning, even as the president is expressing optimism about a deal coming together, rather soon. The Israelis aside, officials said that they were surprised by President Biden's comments, that they don't feel like there has been a specific time frame for when this agreement could be reached. Now, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan over the weekend had said that he had hoped that there might be a closer framework, a closer final agreement in the coming days. It just still remains entirely unclear whether that progress will be made. Now, as you noted, there's been some hope from officials and a desire that they strike some type of deal before Ramadan, which is set to begin on March 10th. There is also significant concern about Israel's expected operation in Rafah. The U.S. has been pressing Israelis officials to really develop a plan to get civilians out of harm's way before they launch any type of campaign there. But it's very clear that the U.S. is still hopeful that some type of agreement can be reached in the coming days. It's not clear if that will be by that Monday timeframe that the president expressed, but there is hope that these negotiations will continue to move along and that hostages will soon be able to get out with that temporary ceasefire, and the hope that then they would be able to work towards additional conditions to get even more hostages out and extend a ceasefire even longer.
But there is still a degree of lack of trust, if you will, between President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu. President Biden has previously characterized some of Israel's response as over the top, and you referenced America's criticism of the planned operation into Rafah. How are they planning to bridge that divide?
Well, we have seen this frustration emerging between President Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Oftentimes, that frustration has been behind closed doors. Their conversations have been quite animated as the president has urged Israel to take a different approach with their campaign. And we have seen some of that bubble over into public view. I think at this time, what the president's trying to do is speak to Netanyahu and encourage him to come to an agreement when it comes to getting those hostages out, an agreement when it comes to getting some type of temporary ceasefire. And last night, in an interview with a late night host here in the U.S., Seth Meyers, the president said that Israel will begin to lose more international support if they continue their campaign the way it's been conducted. So you hear him publicly really trying to pressure Netanyahu to take more care with their campaign, protect civilians, and try to secure the release of the hostages. But at this time, even as officials say they've seen progress when it comes to the negotiations, seen Hamas change some of their demands, it's entirely unclear whether all the parties will be able to come together to reach this kind of agreement. There's also those concerns about a two-state solution. That is something that the U.S. has been pushing Israel on from the beginning. Netanyahu really so far has shown resistance to the idea of creating a separate Palestinian state. And so that's one of the challenges the president's also facing when it comes to this war in Israel, or between Israel and Hamas, and trying to bring it to an end, as many parties involved would like there to be a two-state solution at the end of this.
And finally, Arlette, there's also the problem of the domestic challenge and the domestic repercussions that President Biden's facing as a consequence of this continuing war. Talk to us about how this may impact his own chances, particularly in the primaries. I believe Michigan is the next proximate primary, and there a lot of Democrat voters are upset with President Biden not doing enough to stop this war.
Yeah, there has been a lot of frustration and discontent growing within President Biden's Democratic Party. That specifically comes from Arab American, Muslim American, and young voters who are incredibly frustrated with the president's response to the war taking place between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. And as you noted, the Michigan primary will be a key test for President Biden. That is taking place today, and there is a campaign underway there to encourage voters in the Democratic primary to vote uncommitted today when they head to the ballot box. There's a group called Listen to Michigan that has been calling over 100,000 people in Michigan, encouraging them to vote uncommitted. They hope to have about 10,000 people there voting uncommitted today, really trying to show the president the power of the voters who are frustrated with his response to the war in Gaza. You know, Michigan is a state that Biden narrowly won against President Trump in 2020. 2020, and Muslim American voters make up over 140,000 voters in the state. So it's really critical, these groups believe, for the president to get on board with a ceasefire, just showing the power that they could have in this Michigan primary. And then there's questions about how it would affect specifically the youth vote more broadly in the country. You know, Michigan does have significant Muslim American, Arab American populations, but then there is the concerns from youth voters as well, who are spread out across the country. So there's real questions about how the president's handling of the crisis in Israel and in Gaza will impact his chances, especially when he looks towards the general election, and every vote will count as he's trying to defend these battleground states, specifically a state like Michigan, which was pivotal to his win back in 2020.
That's a wrap, and we'll keep an eye out on not just that development about this impending or the ceasefire that everyone is hoping will likely come through soon, possibly before the start of Ramadan, which is, of course, in the first week of March, and whether or not the Netanyahu administration will come around to the American view and the view of the mediators, that's Qatar and Egypt, to have some kind of a temporary pause in exchange for the release of at least 40 hostages, as Arlet Sainz was reporting for us from Washington. That's a wrap. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll catch you again tomorrow night, same time. All those stories and our debates going up on News18.com, as well as our social media platforms on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you for tuning in.
Presented by
And this place right above us, being at a distance of billions of dollars weapons.
צריך עוד פעם בתמונה עכשיו. No, they said it's a story now. This is one of these secret weapons.
And this is the tunnel that they used to attack the Erez crossing.
Cement, very strong cement, electricity, there's water.
רגע, עוד לא קדימה. אוקיי. ניכנס לפה.
אי אפשר, אנחנו לא יכולים כולם ביחד. We cannot do it, everybody together.
You can see here a small kitchen.
אני לא יודע, תגיד מה לעשות, אני אעשה.
And here another bathroom. For this direction, you will see the room that they stay inside. With beds. With beds and also the air condition. And as I told you, this helps us to find, because we understood that below the engine we will probably find the air conditioner. And this helps us to find the tunnel.
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. We begin tonight with the story of Paytm. Once synonymous with digital payments in India, the bank is in deep trouble. Their founder Vijay Shekhar Sharma has had to resign from the board. But will it be enough to pacify the regulators in India? And what next for Paytm? We'll discuss all of that. Meanwhile, sovereign AI remains in focus. Chip maker Nvidia wants to collaborate with India to develop it. What does that mean? And why is it significant? In Gaza, hopes of a ceasefire as Israel clashes with Lebanon intensify. In Ukraine, French President Emmanuel Macron says he cannot rule out putting soldiers on the ground.